We will be discussing about classical Western thinkers. Okay, Karl Marx, Max Durkheim, Weber, the core concepts of these thinkers. Okay, very simply we will try to define. Okay, first we will start our discussion with Karl Marx. Karl Marx was a revolutionary scholar. Revolutionary in the sense his ideas were very revolutionary. In Europe, when modernity was emerging, as I said, no, economic revolution has also happened. Capitalism was rising. So Karl Marx has observed from society changing from feudalism to capitalism, and how capitalism is taking over the society, and what are the outcomes of capitalism, what are the consequences of capitalism. He observed this. That is the reason why the core concepts of Karl Marx, the core concepts of Marxist ideology or Karl Marx ideology is, he focused, his theory focused on oppression and his theory focused on what? Oppression and exploitation. What, in a simple terms, what Karl Marx have observed is, in industries, workers were working hard and the profit was being appropriated by owners. Owners were appropriating the hard work by workers. Then, you know, he was the first scholar who talked about a concept called surplus value. Okay, he talked about a concept called surplus value. Karl Marx talked about surplus value. Simple. I'll tell you what is surplus value. Okay, surplus value is, I manufactured a pen. Okay, I made this pen. Okay, and I'll explain you what is surplus value in simple terms. You will understand. I manufactured this. A company manufactured this pen. The price of this pen is, for the time being, consider that it is 100 rupees. The cost of this pen is 100 rupees. Now, from this pen, company sold these pens and made 1 crore rupee. Okay, and made 1 crore. To manufacture this pen, company has spent 10 lakh rupees. A worker, I designed this pen. I worked on this pen and I made this pen because company hired me. This is my hard work. For my hard work, company paid 10 lakh rupees. But company earned 1 crore rupees by selling this pen. The surplus value is the profit which is earned by the company minus, or the selling overall cost gathered, accumulated by the company minus the salary. That is nothing but surplus. Actually, that is not profit. That is surplus, because from whom hard work they could gather 1 crore rupees? The hard work is worker. Karl Marx will say that it is your hard work which is been appropriated by the owners, and this value should go, this 90 lakh value should go to the workers. So Karl Marx ideology is that. Now definitely, if in a capitalist country or where capitalism is becoming popular, you go and you say that industries, you are exploiting workers. Will workers work? That is the reason why Karl Marx was thrown away from Germany for his radical ideologies. His ideologies is not radical. His ideology is revolutionary his ideology is awakening. That is the reason why even in 21st century, Karl Marx theory is not outdated. If there is any theory, in the world, we used, reused, we abused that theory. We used so many terms, is Marxist theory. From west to east, if any theory is still popular in 21st century is Marxist theory. Even today, we see this surplus value appropriation by industrialists. When a workers are designing in a product, if I have made an artificial intelligence, through using artificial intelligence, companies are making profits. Okay, if one individual is creating a product, companies which is hiring that individual, paying their salaries and appropriating that surplus value. Surplus value means the cost which is paid to the labor for creation of that product. You are, by the total earnings, you are reducing it. That value is called as a surplus value. So for the first time, Karl Marx highlighted what is surplus value. Karl Marx highlighted exploitation faced by laborers. Karl Marx highlighted the oppression faced by laborers. Okay, so this is the first basic thing which has been talked by Karl Marx. So Karl Marx, why we are giving more importance is because of this point. Now you understood what is surplus value. Now Karl Marx also talked about, in Karl Marx we talk about important concepts called historical materialism, class struggle, alienation. Okay, what do we talk about? Historical materialism, class struggle, alienation. Sir, in regular classes I will take around 15 to 16 hours, around 8 classes, 8 to 9 classes I will take in discussing Karl Marx. But we are going to briefly give an essence to these theories. Okay, don't worry if at all I am saying you are not able to get. If you are understanding it is okay. I know some students will say, sir, we are not getting comprehensive idea. I am not trying to give comprehensive idea. This is foundation course. How can I give comprehensive idea? In full course we will get comprehensive idea. But when we have to talk about NCERTs, as I said, no, we are not talking about 10th, 6th class, 7th class NCERTs. Okay, at the end of the day, when you read in general studies geography, what you will do? You will study from 6th class to 12th class NCERTs. That's it. We are studying those NCERTs in a very short time of time. Don't go for comprehensive understanding. Try to understand the essence. Okay, that is the reason why I will try to simplify as much as I can. So Karl Marx theory is, core concepts of Karl Marx is, he talked about word called historical materialism, class struggle, alienation. These are the points. I'll simply, as a kid, for a small kid, how we have to talk about historical materialism, he'll discuss. Okay, when we were talking about, just now we talked about Karl Marx. What did I say? Karl Marx also talked about just now we talked about social structure. He also talked about social structure. But what did he say? Social structure, Durkheim was saying that social structure will put constraints on individuals. But Karl Marx was saying that humans can influence this social structure. We just understood how he is explaining this social structure, how he is explaining social structure, how he is explaining the changing social structure. That he explained through a concept called historical materialism. So Karl Marx theory, in simple terms, what did he say? That Karl Marx was living in 19th century. When he was talking into European history, he did not only talk about that what is happening in Europe during that point of time. he talked about past. Now you tell me, gradually, when I ask you a question, okay, leave Karl Marx for a time being. When I ask about, please explain me about the history of India. What do you say? You will start from ancient. You will say, initially India have Indus Valley civilization. In India we have Indus Valley civilization. Then what you say? Vedic period, later Vedic period. Then you have Mahajanapadas. Then you have medieval Mauryas, Guptas. Then you have medieval. Then you have modern India. You are talking about history. That is nothing but social structure, changing social structure. Karl Marx also talked about history, changing societies. Now, when you are talking about Indian history, when you are saying that from ancient till modern, what type of reference you have taken is, you have taken chronological reference. BC, 3rd century BC, 2nd century BC, 1st century BC, next 1st century AD, 2nd century AD. When Karl Marx was talking about history, what did he say? That he looked at changing history. How history is changing is based on changing material conditions. You talked about changing history to changing time. He talked about changing material conditions. Material conditions changed from one era to second era to third era. No need to worry. First, what he talked about is, Karl Marx talked about 5 stages in human history according to him. First, he talked about primitive communism. What is the first stage he talked about? Primitive communism. Next, he talked about slavery. Next, he talked about feudalism. Next, he talked about capitalism. Next, he talked about socialism. Okay. Next, he also talked about communism. This is debated. Some people say that no, Karl Marx did not talk about communism. Some people will say about he did talk about communism. But this is how he is talking about changing history. He is saying that history evolved from primitive communism to slavery, slavery to feudalism, feudalism to capitalism, capitalism to socialism, socialism to communism. The life period of Karl Marx was this period. Karl Marx was born during this period. Then how did Karl Marx understood those periods? How we are understanding those periods, earlier periods? Through history books. So he also studied European society, and he said that in European society, first societies were communism. Slavery was prevalent. Next, feudalism was there. Capitalism was there. Socialism was there. And finally, you will see communism emerged. The point here is how many types of division was made by Karl Marx is not important. How did he made that divisions? That is very important. How he understood the history of Europe. He understood the history of Europe through changing material conditions. What is that? Changing or simple చెప్పాలి అంటే changing economic relations. Based on the changing economic relations, different communities were different eras were passing by in Europe. So what do you understand by economic relations? Even though when I said this you are not clear. First, Karl Marx said that in the ancient Europe, when primitive communism was there, No one were owners, no one were workers. Everyone were owners. In primitive communism, who are the owners? Everyone were the owners. So, why we say it is primitive communism? Listen carefully. In primitive communism, you have communitarian. You have communitarian ownership. What do you understand by communitarian ownership? Community was the owner. No one were the owners. But what happened was, gradually when everyone were hunters and gatherers, gradually there was a sense of scarcity, there was a sense of selfishness emerged. Gradually what society have observed is, few people started appropriating resources and few people were deprived of resources. Gradually what happened was, economic relations changed. Earlier everyone were the owners. Economic relation means who are the owners? Everyone were the owners now. But what happened is, few people became the owners, and when few people is controlling the economy, few people, rest of the people don't have any control over this. Automatically what happened? Master versus slave relationship emerged. Okay, sir, no need to worry. This is called as one of the core concept of Karl Marx, modes of production. We will discuss this in 4 hours. I will tell you. Sir, immediately you can ask me a question. You don't ask, but sir, how could, when everyone were the producers, everyone were the owners, how could that master-slave relationship happen? Karl Marx also said that it did not happen overnight. Like many people will say, though, I studied only for 2 months, I cleared UPSC. They are frauds. Karl Marx also said that it did not happen over time. It happened gradually. And how did it happen is, why few people became masters is, Karl Marx wrote in his book that they kept religion as a justification. They said that God has given us special powers. God said that we can become the owners. This forest belongs to us. Who said? God. So people who are ignorant, they blindly accepted it. That is the reason why they use the justification of religion. That is the reason why master versus slave relationship emerged. And master-slave relationship, after that we see master versus serf relations. Master versus serf means, here it is master versus slave. Means masters are the, slaves are the property of whom? Masters. Slaves are the property of masters. Land is a property of masters. Resources is the property of master. Everything was owned by masters. Then gradually society changed. Master versus serf relationship emerged. Serf is not the property of master, but serf is dependent on master. Feudal lord, feudal lords, zamindars. Workers were dependent on zamindars. Landless laborers were dependent on zamindars. These serfs used to till the land of masters and keep some produce with them and give rest of the produce to masters. What is the difference between serf and master? Serf and slave. Simple ga gurtupettukondi. As I said, no, we'll discuss this in detail. No need to worry. Slave means whatever produced by slave is the property of master. And slave is only the property of master. Karl Marx said that in the history of humankind, we never saw this kind of exploitation, where humans became the property of another human. Slaves are becoming the property of masters. You saw, no, in many movies, slaves have been sold in the market. A person who want to hire slaves, they are purchased. Next, feudalism. Master versus serf. Master versus serf is, master was the landlord. Serf used to do tilling. He will, after tilling, you get the land produce, no? In that land produce, you will keep your percentage. Means 20% you will keep and rest of the 80% you will give to the master. So, the status has changed. Slave was the property of master. Serf was not the property. Serf was working for the master. Next, capitalism. Industrialist versus workers. Okay. So, this was a division. Now, you understood what is the division? Now, simple. Sir, on what basis Karl Marx divided these groups? Karl Marx said that how in that community, what was the economic relations? Based on that I am dividing. In this, economic relations was communitarian relations. In this, economic relation was everything was owned by masters. Slaves was also owned. In this, masters were the landlords. Okay, but serfs were not the properties of masters. Serfs used to work for the masters. In this, owners were the industrial owners, but workers used to get salaries. So this is how economic relations changed. Land, who is owning the land, who is working on the land, based on that relationship is changing. That is what we call as a mode of production. In mode of production, there will be production relations and relations of, you understand my point? Production factors and production relations. No need to worry. Production factors means land, labor, capital. Who is owning this land and labor? Based on that, he divided this into these many areas. You understand my point? These many terms. Now, why we are discussing this is Karl Marx understanding of social structure is he did not look into any other factor in understanding history, in understanding society. His own point is who are the owners, who is owning land, who is owning capital, who is owning property, who is owning assets. They are the powerful people, other people are powerless. Masters were owning everything, they are powerful. Owners are owning everything, they are powerful. Now, this is how he talked about history. Now, Karl Marx said that from this society to this society, change happened. No, primitive communism changed to slavery. This happened because of class struggle. Class struggle means masters was, slaves fought against masters. Once slaves were fought against masters, this class struggle led to the emergence of feudalism. Serfs fought against masters. This led to the class struggle, and we see capitalism. In capitalism, what happens is, as I said, no, in capitalism there will be bourgeoisies versus proletariats. Proletariats means workers. Bourgeoisies means industrialists. Proletariats will fight against bourgeoisies, and once proletariats are fighting against these bourgeoisies, capitalism will be converted into socialism. Now, simple point, what I am trying to say is, history, how Karl Marx studied the history of societies. History, he understood the history of societies through a concept called class struggle. He understood societies giving importance to economy. He understood societies through class struggle. So, one society is replaced by another society is replaced by another society. How it is being replaced? Through class struggle. Okay, now, on the same lines, slavery is replaced by feudalism is replaced by capitalism will be ended. Why feudalism ended? Because serfs unified and fought against masters. See, no, this is primary understanding. In mode of production law, we will discuss so many layers. There are so many layers we will discuss. This is nothing but primary understanding. So, how Karl Marx talked about history of society. Karl Marx talked about history of society through class struggle. What is class struggle? This is class struggle. Slaves fought against masters. Why did slavery end? Slaves revolted against masters. Why did feudalism end? Serfs revolted against masters. Why did capitalism will come to an end? Proletariat will revolt against bourgeoisie. Karl Marx said that capitalism will end. Did capitalism end? Did workers protesting against owners? Workers were protesting against owners, but that was very small scale. Karl Marx said that workers will unite and overthrow owners and they will form the rulers. They will become the rulers. That did it happen? No. So, when we are talking about Karl Marx, you have to understand that he talked about class struggle and he talked about historical concept called historical materialism. Now, what is historical materialism? You will understand. Why did I explain class struggle first is, first I will give you the broader explanation, then I will come to particular topic, because we are not going slow. We are not taking notes and we don't have the opportunity to discuss all the things. Okay. Historical materialism means nothing but Karl Marx said that history changes through material conditions. When material conditions are changing, history changes. Okay. So, material conditions are changing, history changes. So, history is hitherto the. This is the statement of Karl Marx. When you look at history of any societies, previous societies, you can understand their history through class struggle, how they are undergoing class struggle. Okay, so he talked about how primitive communism changed to slavery, slavery changed to feudalism, feudalism changed to capitalism, how capitalism will change to socialism, how socialism will change to communism. That is nothing but class struggle. And this class struggle is based on what? Material conditions. This class struggle is leading to because of material conditions. Slaves fought for material needs only. Slaves fought for land. Chefs are also fighting for land. Owners are fighting for what? Economic. They want ownership. They want surplus value. Okay, you understand my point? So, when Karl Marx was talking about societies, he understood it through historical materialism. Historical materialism is changing history or social change of any societies. Society is changing. We will call it social change. No. Society is changing. Every society would change based on changing material conditions. If you are talking about ancient society, if Karl Marx is looking into Indian ancient society, Karl Marx will say that kings were the owners. When it comes to medieval societies, Karl Marx will say that kings were the owners of the land. But zamindars, these people, these people emerged. These people were having some rights on the land. Not complete rights. They have the rights. When you come to model, who is having the complete rights over the land? People. When you are talking about modern societies, now people are having the rights. So, Karl Marx, whenever he talks about Indian society, he talks about any societies, he will look who is owning the economic resources. When Karl Marx will talk about Indian society, for suppose, let me tell you, if Karl Marx is looking into caste system in India, what he will say that when Indian sociologist is taking understand class society, he will say that Brahmins are superior because Brahmins are superior religiously. They know Sanskritic text, they know Vedic text. That is the reason why superior. But Karl Marx will say that Brahmins are superior because they are the owners of land. Everything, Marxist ideology, Karl Marx understanding of society is based on economic criteria. Okay, this is what we call as a class struggle. Historical materialism means history is changing through changing material conditions. Now, as I said, no, just Karl Marx also talked about another concept called, there is a concept called dialectics. Dialect is language ki oka dialect untadi kada, but he talked about dialectics. What is dialectic is change in the societies is happening through contradiction in ideas. Society is changing through contradiction in ideas. No need to worry, dialectic is a new word, you never know. I'll try to explain. In India, you know, sati was prevalent. Sati was prevalent. And you know, sati was not only prevalent in few areas, sati was prevalent in almost all the India. Means, can I say sati was an idea which was practiced all over India, but Rajaram Mohan Roy has said that this idea of sati is wrong, bad. First, immediately when Rajaram Mohan Roy said that, everyone thought that Rajaram Mohan Roy was mad. He is going against religion. But when many people accepted this idea, the idea of Rajaram Mohan Roy, that sati is bad, this idea questioned the existing idea, and this idea replaced this idea. And then when Rajaram Mohan Roy has given an idea, again new idea will emerge, and new idea will question this idea. Don't you think every society emerged with one idea being replaced by other idea being replaced by other idea? Simple. Now we are talking about electricity, generating electricity. Initially everyone thought that we will generate electricity through coal idea. Now we are generating electricity through water, solar, new ideas are replacing. So social change will happen through contradiction in ideas. That is what is dialectics. Understood? Dialectics means social change or history would be changed. Dialectics is history or society would change. History or a society would change through conflict or contradictions in ideas. Means nothing but history changes through replacing one idea with other idea. Simple. How history changes? History changes through replacing one idea with other idea. Earlier, we thought that British form of government is the British are the only persons who can be capable to do administration. National freedom fighters came, said that you are incapable to become leaders. We will rule for ourselves. Initially in India, everyone thought that Congress will be the only form of political party. Next, regional parties came. That idea has been replaced by new idea. You understand my point? So, society changes through changes in ideas. You understand my point? Social change occurs through changes in ideas. Sir, I know you no need to comprehensively understand all these issues because we will be discussing step by step. But why we are discussing this is there in the NCERTs, and this we don't have that much time to discuss step by step. So that is the reason why at the end of the day I want to give you brief essence what we study in Karl Marx. As I said, no, in Karl Marx we will be studying for 15 to 16 hours. Last year also I took somewhere around 18 hours to explain Karl Marx. So I am explaining this 18 hours to you introduction. So you should not be worried about comprehensive understanding. You just enjoy what is being talked by Karl Marx. You just think that ఇప్పుడు రాజమౌళి సినిమాలో బాహుబలి సినిమాలు చూపిస్తారు చూడండి, ట్రైలర్ ఉంటుంది చూడండి, ట్రైలర్ లో యూ సీ లైక్ బాహుబలి 1 ట్రైలర్, బాహుబలి 2, యూ సీ ఎవ్రీవన్ ఈస్ హ్యాపీ. అగైన్ వాట్ యూ సే ఆఫ్టర్ బాహుబలి 1, బాహుబలి 2 ఈస్ స్టార్టింగ్ రూలింగ్, how he became ruler, why Bahubali was killed. Everyone have, trailer will not give you complete picture. Movie will give you complete picture. In optional, we will discuss all these things in step by step and in a linear fashion. But all what I am trying to do is, I am trying to introduce you the subject. Don't think that I am teaching you the subject. This is foundational course, is introducing the subject. See, generally this is all there in the optional. ఓకే, డోంట్ థింక్ ఐ నో అంటే ఏంటి అంటే ఇంట్రొడక్షన్ లెక్చర్స్ సార్ ఇంత డీటెయిల్గా ఉంటే సబ్జెక్ట్ ఇంకెంత డీటెయిల్గా ఉంటుంది, ఏముండదు, సబ్జెక్ట్ లో కూడా ఇవే ఉంటాయి. బట్ వాట్ ఐఎమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు డూ ఇస్ ఐఎమ్ ఇంట్రడ్యూసింగ్ ఇట్. అట్ ద ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద డే ఐ వాంట్ యూ టు గెట్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్. సి, డోంట్ థింక్ ఇన్ అదర్వైజ్, రైట్? ఐఎమ్ డిస్కసింగ్, ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ ఇన్ టు ద డెప్త్ టు create that enthusiasm by me taking you to the depth. Don't take it in otherwise wise. Don't be worried about it. How definitely in 5 months of sociology course, I am trying to teach you in 15 to 20 hours. What can I do? I just will give you a glimpse. Okay. So please keep this in mind when you are watching. Online students also, when you are watching, just as I said, no, watch the movie which is being played. All the connectivity you will establish later. Slowly you will understand all these things. But why we are discussing this is to make you give an idea what are all the topics we are going to discuss in the optional. Okay. So dialectics is society changes through conflicting of contradictions or ideas. Now you understand my point? Now when I was talking about historical materialism, don't you think this idea is replaced by this idea is replaced by this idea? Historical materialism is nothing but dialectical materialism. Dialectics is change, society is changing through ideas. Historical materialism is society is changing through dialectics is society changing through changing of ideas. Dialectical materialism anna historical materialism anna okate. Dialectical materialism is nothing but historical materialism. Historical materialism is history is changing through changing of ideas. Primitive communism is changing through slavery, slavery is changing through feudalism, feudalism is changing through capitalism. That is what we call as an historical materialism. So in this example, we discussed about two concepts. One is historical materialism and another is class struggle. I did not discuss the basics, I gave the essence. You know, in primitive communism, we will discuss about 1 hour. Slavery we will discuss about 1 hour. We will discuss about these details later. But I am just giving you a brief idea how this happens, how Karl Marx talked about. Society changes through changes in idea. According to Karl Marx, society changes through changes in material conditions. In dialect, we are replacing ideas with dialectics is history. History would change through conflict or contradictions. If this ideas is replaced by material conditions or economic factors, then it will be called as a dialectical materialism or historical materialism. Simple. So why do you think that primitive communism is changed to slavery? Material conditions change. In primitive communism, everyone were owner. In slavery, masters were the owner. Economic conditions change. Masters, slaves were the property of masters. Serfs were not the property of masters. Economic conditions changed. Serfs should not be abided by masters. Then automatically capitalism emerged. Workers are not responsible to owners. Workers will work with the owners. You can go to any company, you can work, but serfs cannot go to any masters. They are abided. But slavery is different from feudalism. Economic conditions change. Feudalism is different from this. So this is how Karl Marx talked about change in society. You understand my point? Society is changing through historical materialism, and society is also changing through class struggle. This change is happening through class struggle. Okay. So this is what we discussed in, we will be discussing in Karl Marx. So Karl Marx, historical materialism, class struggle, alienation and communism. Alienation we did not discuss, I will discuss. Communism we did not discuss, we will discuss. Communism is nothing but, as I said, no. First he said that fourth stage is capitalism. Proletariats will go for revolution. And Karl Marx kalagannadu. Karl Marx dreamt that workers, how slaves revolted against masters, how serfs revolted against feudal masters. On the same lines, workers will also develop class consciousness. What is class consciousness? We all are exploited. Our surplus value is exploited by whom? Owners, industrialists. So Karl Marx said that classes, working classes will get class consciousness. Class consciousness means awareness. We are being exploited, we are being exploited. Then everyone will come and become a one force. When 90% will become a one force, 10% cannot suppress. These 90% people will revolt against masters. And then workers will become the owners of industries. Karl Marx went to this extent saying that workers will not only become the owners of industries, workers should become the rulers also. Who should become the rulers? Workers. Have you seen any country in the world this happening? But Karl Marx dreamt. The dream of Karl Marx is workers will revolt and workers will become rulers. That is capitalism. That is socialism. What is communism? No, final stage. Once owners are being replaced by workers, what workers have to do is, workers should distribute all the property of the country equally to the people. If in India there are 10 lakh crore, there are 100 crore population. 10 lakh crore should be divided equally to 100 crore population. And then workers should also disintegrate and mix with people. And then there is communism. Means nothing but, initially we talked about primitive communism, everyone is owner, same. Finally we should go to that stage. Do you think it is practically possible? First of all, have you ever imagined, for the time being, let us imagine that everyone is owner. Everyone is owner means, to explain you, everyone is doing one job or doing different job. At different job, they are getting same salary. If you are working from 9 to 5, you are getting same salary, because you have to, everyone should be equally, property should be distributed equally, means nothing but you should live in government quarters, you should have public bus, you should follow public bus, and you will get equal salary. Can any society work on that way? If doctors is getting equal salary like sweepers, if teachers are getting equal salary like semi-skilled, unskilled work, will skilled people get motivation to work? Will skilled people increase? No. So he also talked about communism. You understand my point? So this is the essence of Karl Marx. Okay, this we will discuss in detail in 20 hours in our classes. No need to worry. These words are important. But I want to take risk. Okay, I know. I want to take risk and I want to discuss these points, because at the end of the day, these topics only will create essence. This topic only will create what we will learn, you will understand, right? So thinking of Karl Marx, you understood why he was a revolutionary. This thinking made Karl Marx thrown from Germany. So he lived in exile in Britain. Okay, now you understood. So this is the core concepts of Karl Marx. In Karl Marx, there is a concept called alienation. I will discuss that concept. Alienation means simple, one concept, and we will take break. Alienation means you are working in an industry from morning till night. You are working in an industry from morning till night. When you are working in an industry, initially what type of work culture was there in any society? What was the earlier work culture? We used to produce our grains, we used to consume our grains. Later, or we used to produce any product, chappal or clothes, handcraft clothes, we used to wear for ourselves. Or at least, if at all I am a weaver, I used to switch my clothes. Okay, I used to make my clothes, I used to wear it, or I used to sell it. So I am the producer and I am the selling my produce to a consumer. But don't you see capitalism, what happened? In capitalism, what is there is owner of the product is different. Creator of the product is different. So before, creator was the owner. Now creator is worker, owner is industrialist. So gradually, don't you see, creator is moving away from the product. Till now, if this AC is being manufactured by someone, he don't even know that he is working on an AC. He is generally working on one device. That device can be used in multiple machines. Means the creator is not having what product on which he is working. And in industrial sector, how it is there is, if you go to an office, you will have a cubicle. From morning 9 to evening 7, you will sit in that cubicle, you will talk with internet, you will interact with internet, your boss will send you a mail. There will not be physical meeting. Monthly once there will be physical meeting. Means nothing but you are doing the monotonous job. From 9 to evening 7, you are doing monotonous job. You are doing what you say, assembly line production. Assembly line production means, let me tell you, assembly line production is products are coming. One person will take that product and stick that sticker. From morning till evening, his job is to stick that sticker. So don't you think by this nature of job, by this nature of production, the worker will be moved away from product, the worker will be moved away from other workers also. In a room, you are working with your computer, where did you interact with other worker? You are separated from the product, you are separating from the other co-workers, you are separated from the nature also. When you enter into software, when you enter into any software company, you see, once you enter into that, you don't even know whether outside it is raining or it is too hot. You don't know the weather. You only know the ambience in the office. You are separated from the nature. Gradually, what Karl Marx said is, individual is separated from his own product. Individual is separated from his production process. What he is being produced, he don't know. He only knows that I have to stick this sticker. I have to write this code. This code is used for, this code might be used by Trump to survey, to use as a surveillance against Iran. He don't know. He will write the code, he will send it. He is separating from the product. He is separated from the production process. He is separated from the nature. He is separated, finally he will be separated from the family also. That is the reason why you see, why in software, stress, suicides is increasing. They will be going through this phase. From morning till evening, you are doing monotonous work. You are not interacting with other workers. In past what used to do, when agriculture was done, farmers ఏం చేసేవాళ్ళు అంటే, farmers used to chit chat together. They used to sing songs. నచ్చినప్పుడు పనికి వెళ్ళేవారు, నచ్చినప్పుడు ఇంట్లో కూర్చునేవాళ్ళు. ఇక్కడ నచ్చడం అనేదే లేదు. You have to go, otherwise your salary will be deducted. This psychological process is called as alienation. In capitalism, don't you see, you are being alienated? So that is what is alienation. Now you understand my point? Alienation means the sense, the purpose of life has been gradually declined. You are moving far away from product, production process, from the nature, from the company, and finally you are being alienated from the family also. That is the reason why you see some people, ఇప్పుడు చూడండి, husband is morning shift, husband is night shift, wife is morning shift. When do they talk? Will they have any social life? When you don't have any social life, don't you think you are alienated? Now you understand what is alienation. So this is also been talked by Karl Marx. Karl Marx said that, as I said, no, modernity and fallout of modernity. Because of modernity, anomie is increasing, alienation is increasing. Anomie was said by Durkheim, alienation was given by Karl Marx. Alienation means you are losing this, your value is been declining in sense of this product. And you see, very unfortunate thing is, Karl Marx clearly said that the value of labor in the world is zero. The value of product is more powerful. If at all I wear a shirt, if this shirt is good, you appreciate the product. We forgot to appreciate the creator of this product. If at all I am wearing some Timex watch, so the worker who worked for this watch has lost significance. No significance is there, but the product is becoming popular. That is the reason why workers are alienated. Don't you think this is an outcome of capitalism? That is the reason why Karl Marx questioned capitalism. Karl Marx, as I said, no, coming to the first basic. What did I say? Karl Marx focused on oppression, exploitation created by capitalism. So this is the brief story of Karl Marx. Okay, take break. Sorry, ఈరోజు బ్రేక్ కి లేట్ అయింది, బికాజ్ ఎందుకంటే మధ్యలో ఉన్నాం కదా. I want to give a structured understanding. Okay, chalo, take break and we will continue. So no need to worry, I'll close at 7:30 only. We will be discussing about Emile Durkheim and Weber. Tomorrow we will discuss about Indian thinkers. But be honest, have you understood what was the thought process of Karl Marx? See, I am saying no need to worry about historical materialism, concepts, definition, no need to worry. But at least you understood what is his overall theory. Now you understood what did Karl Marx actually study. If at all I don't go into these technical words, you will not understand what Karl Marx did. Simple, I would have said that Karl Marx talked about changing history through class struggle. How history was in India, how ancient society has changed to medieval, medieval has been changed to modern. He also talked about primitive communism changed to slavery, slavery changed to feudalism, feudalism to capitalism. But how it happened? He talked about social change through economic criteria. He made material base as a material conditions as a base through which he saw the change in society.